शिवाय ॐ नमः शिवाय।
नमस्कार। जेठ जून पक्ष 14 बे प्रस्तुत होमलैंड टीवी बे स्वागत करा तो पन्निस या दुनिया मज सर करनाउन यछान पतिम एपिसोड सोन चलो तुलमुल दिवाई बग्र सपर कह याद टर्टिस विजय मल्लाह सतन तो बे पन कश्मीर गीत बोज लुकन हंद जबरदस्त रेस्पॉन्स बे वान कि अन ब्रो कुनत छटुन तो बे तुथ टाकार कर जन सारे कथ गसन बे साफ अंधकार डल गाश यी चपर सो बे अक लट होमलैंड टीवी मन स्वागत कर तो अजुक प्रोग्राम करो अकि बहस सतन शुरू जन हाल इंटरलॉक्यूटर रिपोर्ट आई सपदे टाकार यथ मन कन फुल तोमुल फुल चर सारवी तो सानो कहो गणमातो तुछ तथ मज अमा क्या अत मज अमृत कि वेश दपान वेश तो अमृत छान खतर गए देवता अमृत मंथन करने प्रोग्राम नाव मंथन वलो मंथनस मज वो सम गणमात क्या चार।
Hello everybody, this is Pawan Durrani welcoming you to the first edition of Manthan for Homeland TV from New Delhi. This is going to be a weekly episode. Every week we are going to have a discourse on politics of Kashmir. Welcome on. The special discussion we are having will be on the Interlocutors report of Kashmir. I have with me 3 eminent panelists, all from different stages of activism in a way. On my right is Dr. Alendar Saab, former President, Kashmiri Samiti Delhi. On my left is Mr. Kamal Haq. He is a spokesperson for Panun Kashmir. And on the extreme right is Mr. Lalit Ambardar, a well-known social activist of the Kashmiri Pandit community. So let me ask all the 3 eminent panelists straight away one very simple question, which may be the basis or probably a foundation where we can take the discussion forward. Dr. Gar, do you accept the Interlocutors report?
See, during the last 20 years, we have seen such type of activities a number of times. Many these mediators were appointed by the central government to look into the problems of Kashmir. Then there were some commissions they were appointed to look into the same problem. And lately, the last one is the Interlocutors. I think this is yet another futile exercise on the part of the government of India to appoint these people who will assess the situation in Kashmir and submit the report to the government. It's primarily that they want to favor some people of their own without any purpose and give them this opportunity and all the facilities to look into these matters, and they enjoy all the privileges for taking up this job. Secondly, it is only to buy time. The government of India has been doing all these years, and this is because of the fact that they don't have a clear-cut policy on Kashmir. I would like to recollect and make a mention of it. All of us know the situation, that shameful moments in the history of India when the all-party delegation went to Kashmir to talk to the militant groups. Everybody has watched on TV how they were begging Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani and other militant leaders to talk to them. and they only expressed their helplessness when they said that we want to talk to you, but straight away the militant leaders rejected them and said we are not going to talk to you because you are not going to solve our problems, and it is only the government of India and the Prime Minister to whom we are ready to talk. So this is the situation, and these interlocutors, when they were appointed, if you remember, the time before they came to Kashmir on their first visit, there was a meeting with the Prime Minister who briefed them on the situation and gave them the direction as to how they have to proceed. But when they landed in Kashmir on their first visit, they said that without meeting any people, that was the first day, and they said that we are of the opinion that Pakistan should be made a party to this all sorts of negotiations on Kashmir. So this is clear that they were speaking what the Prime Minister had directed them. The purpose of issuing such a statement simply was that they had in mind that what they wanted to gain the sympathy and support of the local people. Because once the people in Kashmir they come to know that Pakistan will be party to it, they would welcome that, and they would give wholehearted support to these interlocutors, and that was the planning of the government. But what happened? In spite of all that, these militant groups, they did not bother, they did not accept this interlocutor, and they did not talk to them. Most of them have refused to go in for any dialogue with them.
I'll just interrupt you there. So probably the emphasis is in spite of the interlocutors probably in a way begging the separatists that they should join in for a talk and all that, the separatists rejected it. I have an interesting take on it, Mr. Kamal. You represent Jammu Kashmir. Somebody had been tweeting me at least Jammu Kashmir and Hurriyat have something in common. Both of them have rejected the interlocutors report. So how do you take this? How are you different from the Hurriyat part? That they have rejected the report, you have rejected the report. How are probably the things indifferent to both of you in case it is?
Well, the fact remains, yes, Jammu Kashmir has rejected the report, and so has most of the militant or the separatist polity of Kashmir. But one needs to understand that we have our own reasons for rejecting the report, while as the people, the separatist polity in Kashmir might have their own reasons. There is no confluence of the reasons that necessitate the rejection of this report by either Jammu Kashmir or by India. Our concerns are that this report does not address adequately, I would not say it does not even address remotely the issue of displaced Kashmiri Pandits who have been thrown out of their homelands 22 years back and are now living as refugees not only in India but various other parts of the world also. So our take is that it does not talk about their aspirations, it does not talk about their difficulties, and it does not talk about their struggle. And our concern is that this has been, despite the fact that there have been a number of Kashmiri Pandit delegations which met the interlocutors with their presentations. Not only that, Kashmiri Pandits, global diaspora of Kashmiri Pandits organized a massive exercise of telecalling where they had a teleconference with the interlocutors in which some presentations by around 10-12 people were made, but which was simultaneously participated by more than 3,000 people, Kashmiri Pandits living across the world, whereby they made their point very clear. They gave expression to their aspirations. They put up their set of demands before the interlocutors, and then they expected that there should be some tangibles that the interlocutors would recommend to the government of India. Leave apart the acceptance of their demands or their legitimate aspirations, interlocutors didn't have even the courtesy of giving them a mention that these were the people who made presentations before them. They have in their report in the annex here, they have said that a delegation of Jammu Kashmir did meet them. We made a very exhaustive presentation before the interlocutors. voice. And they were quite sympathetic. If you go through the archives of certain news channels, after the meeting, the chief interlocutor did address the media, and it was widely reported and widely covered by the media at that time, whereby he said that he had listened to the problems of Kashmiri Pandits, and the interlocutors had full sympathy towards their plight, and they would definitely give them some space, some mention of their aspirations would be there, which we sadly found were not there. As such, I think the interlocutor's report carries no meaning for us.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Amrita, the Interlocutors report specifically has an interesting recommendation. It states that Parliament will make no laws applicable to the state unless it relates to country's internal and external security. How do you take it? And above adding that, they are saying that the term temporary from the Article 370, the Constitution, should be deleted and made it as a special.
It's a tragedy not only of Kashmir, it's a tragedy of India. That Indian secular state has never had any definite idea of how to handle Kashmir. Right from 1940 post-accession, when India was on the verge of with getting the occupied territories of UK with the Interlocutors army. We were on the verge of doing it, and myopic, I would rather put it, is known to be the most statesman personality he has ever produced, by his act, that's Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru. It was the myopic quality that he made the Indian army to stop at the time when we were about to liberate the UK. That was the first plan. Second, we went to UNO on our own. Third, it was giving Article 370 to UN, which is very interesting. Most Indians don't know about it, especially now when the proponents, so-called liberal mindset in India, who are propagating this Interlocutors support that has come in, they are stressing hard on making this Article 370, which was supposed to be temporary when it was applied, to make it permanent. They don't realize that historically, this was against some of the stalwarts of constitutional committee who were against it. Again, myopic quality of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru prevailed, and this was introduced, but on a condition this will remain temporary. Now, coming to the Interlocutors' recommendations about this particular, making it permanent, and then advocating that no law should be extended to Kashmir now onwards. Let me ask these honorable interlocutors, let them give one plausible reason why. Can they cite even one law that has been extended to Jammu and Kashmir over all these years, which is being termed as dilution of Article 370, which ought to be against the welfare of Kashmiris? Name one law that should be termed as against the wishes of Kashmir. The question is, the Government of India's Kashmir policy is driven by, unfortunately, by those who are the proponents of Azadi by Islam, those separatists who regard Kashmir as an unfinished agenda of Jinnah Malaysia. Now, if your policies, if your response, that is, don't forget, it's secular India's response to the Islamists of Kashmir, that you are trying to placate them. Now tell me, why do we have to impose the will of Kashmir state's polity on Jammu and Ladakh? Have we ever heard any separatist movement from Jammu? Ever from Ladakh? Instead, if you try to...
It seems like the Kashmir, probably a Srinagar, or probably around 20 kilometer round division.
I'll go around the states. The media and the liberal mindset, they have never tried to reach out to the Kashmiri voices which remain stifled right in Srinagar. What about, for example, Shias? Have you ever taken any consideration of Shias' rights?
Okay, we'll come back to that.
And can I add something to what Yadav said? There is a contradiction in the recommendation of interlocutors. on one hand they say that some of the laws that have been, central laws which have been implemented in Jammu and Kashmir have been actually quite beneficial for the state. And on the other hand, they want the review of the whole set of laws that were made applicable in J&K post-independence. But I would like to bring your attention to 1976 Bail Parta Safi Accord, which brought in perhaps one of the most popular Kashmiri leaders, Sheikh Kubla, to the power. And he had a committee which reviewed the whole set of central laws and came to the conclusion that these laws have benefited the state and in no way have diluted the status of Jammu and Kashmir as has been envisaged in the Article 370. This is number one. Number two, I would also like to bring to your notice that there is a political group in Jammu and Kashmir, PDP, with their self-rule and all those theories. They have been on record of saying recently that they would prefer to have the jurisdiction of Supreme Court of India, they would prefer to have the jurisdiction of Election Commissioner of India, and they would prefer to have the jurisdiction of a Comptroller and Auditor General over the affairs of Jammu and Kashmir, and also certain set of laws which are beneficial for the state. So that would mean the Interlocutors reports have not even taken into the consideration some of the views. Whether we like it, whether those ultimately will be acceptable to the emanations is beside the point. But the fact is that there is an opinion in Kashmir, and essentially a separatist opinion, which has been again ignored by the Interlocutors. Thereby giving an impression that this was just sort of an academic, most probably discussions, some Google search document that they decided to produce, which doesn't have any bearing or doesn't have any, I would say, relation to the real aspirations of the people, whether pro-nationalist people in the Kashmir, the separatist people, or the mainstream people of the Kashmir.
I beg your pardon. I would like to differ with you on the...
We have a few more subjects to discuss.
I want to clarify.
We may pick it up.
No, this is very important. This is very important. I just want to talk about, see, you are right. There are certain contradictory aspects of this report, like quoting PDP's self-rule on the one hand, and on the other hand, ignoring what PDP has been public demanding, especially in Delhi. This will be something interesting for Kashmiri politicians. They speak one language in Srinagar, they speak another language in Delhi. That has to be kept in mind. Now, don't forget, without literally quoting National Conference Greater Autonomy or PDP itself too, this Interlocutors report carries almost everything that these two documents define for Kashmir. And don't forget, again, what are these recommendations on the proposals of Greater Autonomy and PDP self-rule? It is compounded by the fact that Musharraf's 4-point formula finds accurate space in it. So I have this apprehension. What all is happening now is not just between the Interlocutors and Kashmir as well. I think since Interlocutors also, as Dr. Dar pointed out, first thing they did when they arrived in Srinagar was to suggest that Pakistan has to play a role in solving a particular Kashmir issue. And they have not hesitated in recommending resurrecting Kashmir's central national days, which we all know as Kashmiri Pandits, we relate that central Asian parts of Kashmir as barbarism, persecution. And while there is not even a mention of Kashmir's civilizational links with the rest of India. So I see a design there, and till now PDP has not said anything against it. In fact, they have represented their spokesperson. He said, "Now we should not remain on paper only. We should go ahead and follow it up." So that's my submission on that.
My next question is a little interesting one, and which are the basics of our probably a very important question for the community. Dr. Dar, you are one of the prominent opinion maker and a leader of the Kashmiri community here in Delhi. Interlocutors in their report, they have made some specific points. One of the points is that to facilitate the return of Kashmiris stranded across the LOC, many of whom had crossed over for arms training, should be applied. Probably those people who had gone there for arms training now wish to return. So the Interlocutors recommend that they should be bordered in a way. The second thing is all those people who were involved in 2010 riots, involved in stone pelting and all that, they should be set free. When probably all these things are happening at the same time, they are making that the return of Kashmiri Pandits should be made a state policy. How assured you are that with probably terrorists who have gone abroad for terrorist trainings and all that, the stone pelters, everybody being set free, and then Kashmiri Pandits return to Kashmir made a state policy. Are you assured, or do you feel that everything is going rightly as far as this is concerned?
Absolutely not. At the very outset, I told you that this is the policy of the government which is being reflected by the interlocutors. This is not an independent agency. It is only creation of the central government just to give the feeling that Kashmir is normal, and return of Kashmiri Pandits has become a necessity for Indian government just to prove that things are normal, because the biggest parameter for normalcy is return of Kashmiri Pandits. So government of India is very eager to send some Kashmiri Pandits back and close this chapter of migration. Now, when we talk of people coming who are gone for training, they should be called back. Those who are involved in stone pelting, they should be allowed to go scot-free and all that. These are two contradictory things. Now, when all those people are called back, when these stone pelters are allowed to go free, now at the same time they are asking us to go. First thing is that Kashmiri Pandits will not go back to Kashmir unless and until the factors responsible for their exodus, they are reversed. They are reversed. We have to be very, very clear on this point that not a single Kashmiri Pandit will go unless this part is taken care of.
This in spite of all the Prime Minister package.
That is absolutely nonsense. I feel proud of my community that we have outrightly rejected this package. When it was offered 2 years back, it found very little to take us. The reason simply is that all of us are aware of this fact that the policy which the government of India is at the moment talking about of return and all these things, this is disastrous, and especially this is not in the interest of our community, and we must fight it out with all might and force, and we must see to it that this does not materialize at all.
Interesting. Meanwhile, I could not resist myself from sharing that the interlocutors in their report have mentioned that they met a driver association in Kashmir, while it's not having mentioned that they met the Kashmiri Samiti, which is the pioneer representative of Kashmiri Pandits worldwide. Having said that, back to you, Kamalji. Right from the day when the interlocutors have been in some kind of controversy, one interesting thing which has been discussed over and over again is their having gone previously to meetings and sponsored meetings, allegedly by one other person linked with terrorism across the world. Namely, I am talking of Dr. Pai, who incidentally later on came to know that he is not even a doctor in the first place. But how do you feel that the same set of people probably, though this is what is being alleged, that some of the interlocutors have attended the meets organized by Dr. Pai. How sincere do you feel that the whole interlocutors have been to the Kashmiri Pandit community in view of all this?
I think in all fairness to the exercise, interlocutors who have attended such meetings or who have accepted the hospitality of such forces should have excused themselves from being the members of this committee, for the simple reason that they will be always open to the allegations of conflict of interest. As such, they should not have been part of the committee at all. No amount of justifications, no amount of explanations will absorb from them from the elements of doubt that have crept in. But all said and done, let's also understand why and how these interlocutors came into the existence. If you see, I call the post-1947 Kashmir as a theatre of absurd. On one hand, this is perhaps the most gravest of all problems confronting the nation which has defied solutions for the last 65 years. And on the other hand, whatever is being done or whatever has been tried to bring down the normalcy or to bring it into the mainstream of the country in Kashmir is nothing like the state of theatre of absurd. You had interlocutors previously, also you had K.C. Pant as the Prime Minister's interlocutor on the Kashmir. What happened to his exercise? Why? What was conclusions drawn by K.C. Pant? Nobody issued. Or most probably they were gathering dust somewhere in the Prime Minister's office. Then we had that, though a private initiative, but seemingly sponsored Kashmir committee by Mr. Ram Malan, who also did some sort of exercise. What happened to that endeavor is all known to us. Subsequently, we had Prime Minister's roundtable conferences and then the 5 working groups on Kashmir done by constituted by the Prime Minister, which sent in their recommendation, though they were controversial. 4 committees did send the recommendations. One could not complete the report, so that was pending. And among the 3, again, one set of recommendations were avoided a lot of controversy because it seemed that something transferred in the meeting, something else was formulated in the report. So again, that was a meaningless exercise. And then this interlocutors, this current report, which was most probably constituted to diffuse the situation like a terrorism abrupt disorder pattern incidents in the Kashmir. So they just wanted to diffuse and we don't think there was any seriousness in the thought of government. So that is most probably the reason why the choice of such low-key or low-profile interlocutors. But on the part of interlocutors, they should have been very careful. They should have been conscious of the fact that they were about to perform a task which would most probably have national implications, not only national but international implications, and they need to be their integrity needed to be unimpeachable. So I think in their judgment, they should not have been part of such committee.
Mr. Amada, there are 2 more things which I find a little amusing or probably to a little of my understanding, and which over the last few days I have seen that people have reacted very strongly to this, which have come about in the report of the Interlocutors. The 2 specifics I am discussing now is one in which the interlocutors seem to be suggesting that the Kashmiri Pandit movement should be used to bridge the gap with their, the exact statement is like that the movement in Kashmiri Pandit, I'll read out for you. A very good suggestion was that the movement can provide a bridge for Kashmiri Pandits to reconcile with their co-citizens in the valley, and we should recommend funding for such an initiative. This is a specific thing where the interlocutors seem to be suggesting that the Kashmiri Pandit movement in specific should be used to bridge the gap and reconcile with the situation. That is one very, very important point. The second thing, what they are suggesting, that somewhere, I guess if I am not wrong, somewhere around Pulwama, a heritage village concept should be developed for Kashmiri Pandit. What is it all about? Are we extinct as a community, or what is this? What do these points suggest?
You are right, Mr. Pavan. You know, it's something very interesting. For all practical purposes, Government of India has written off Kashmiri Pandit existence in Kashmir. It's a fact. Now, if you have to preserve a village, as they have rightly pointed out, what all remains in Kashmir, there is hardly anything that is left in Kashmir. Our properties that are left behind either are vandalized, they are served, they have been disassailed, everything has been done. So we have nothing left there. Now, if they have pointed it out, I appreciate their effort. They are able to locate a particular locality in the whole of Kashmir Valley, which still can be called as leftover symbols of Kashmiri presence in Kashmir Valley. Now, this shows how frivolous they are about the question of Kashmiri Pandit. And by the way, talking about Kashmiri women, I think I need to remind these interlocutors. There used to be one Kashmiri Pandit woman. They say she used to be so beautiful, so elegant. I don't know whether I should name her. I can. She's a martyr, Mrs. Pranabindi. And they say she was so elegant, even Satan would not have dared touch her. And unfortunately, the way she was finished off is disgusting. And it's so unfortunate, it's so biased towards Kashmiri Pandits. There's not even an iota of reference to the genocide, to the barbarity that Kashmiri Pandits were subjected to. And on top of that, they want to use Kashmiri Pandit women to bridge the gap. What gap? What gap are we talking about? In the, what Kashmiri Pandits suffered was India's only ethnic cleansing. And it's very unfortunate secular India, it doesn't dent secular India's conscience that we don't talk about it. And you're talking about bridging the gap? Yes. Let's see, 1947, after accession, Kashmiri Pandits they preferred to forget about the past of persecution. Joined Naya Kashmir movement. We are in the forefront, even our women were in the forefront of organizing, of mobilizing resistance against the raiders, Pakistani raiders. Right? And then what do we get in return? 20 years ago, a whole community is subject to genocide, and in Indian, the National Human Rights Commission recognizes, although they don't call it genocide, they were akin to genocide. They have their own secular reasons not to possibly declare it as a complete genocide. But interlocutors do not even give any reference of what Kashmiri Pandits are. So I laugh at that. This is disgusting. It's inhuman.
Dr. Dar, while as going by the report, it seems that the interlocutors and the establishment itself, they are very keen to make all kinds of separatists from Kashmir, as you have mentioned earlier. But going by the whole report, one does not see that in any place the interlocutor has been suggesting that the government should also consider at least a discussion regarding the majority view of the Kashmiri Pandits, or which is creation of a union territory or a homeland in the state, within the state. How do you take it?
I agree with Mr. Ambata when he said that this is disgusting that they are asking the Kashmiri Pandit to create a bridge between Kashmiri Pandits and Muslims back in the valley. This is really disgusting, and such a statement from such a observation from these interlocutors should be condemned in every respect. Now, the second point is that interlocutors have not bothered to talk to Kashmiri Pandits, and they have gone to all political Kashmiri Muslim population. I told you right earlier also that this is basically the policy of the government of India, that they have the task cut out for them. They have been told that they should not talk to Kashmiri Pandits because Kashmiri Pandits don't matter. They are more concerned about Kashmiri Muslims, as we have been observing during the last 20 years. And every time, whatever concession, whatever privilege there is for the anti-state, it's only for Kashmiri Muslims. And when Kashmiri Pandits have been forced out of Kashmir, we have absolutely no link or no love for Kashmiri Muslims at the moment. I must tell you that let's be very clear. Kashmiri Muslims are the people who are forced us out, and they cannot any scope for bridging that gap. The gap will widen day by day. We should not forget. We cannot forget the atrocities on us. We cannot forget how we have been treated. It is not a small thing that has happened. It's very light rain. They have thrown us out. It was under a proper plan, and we have suffered to such an extent which we cannot recuperate. We cannot compensate in any way.
Dr. I assume that there's a lot of probably pain and anger what you have within you is more because of the reason that the establishment has been, or you can say some part of the local population have been unable to punish those who have victimized this thing. Suppose that the process of providing justice to Kashmiri Pandits is initiated, or the killers have been probably 20 years down the line, and a legal aspect is started, at least 1, 2 or 3 people who have been involved into the killing of Kashmiri Pandits are apprehended, some justice provided. The pain will subsidize?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You see, you have the mindset of the people has to be understood. If Kashmiri Muslims forced us out, they forced us out only because we were Indians. The hatred is for Kashmiri Pandits because of hatred for India, and that hatred has not subsided as yet, and there are no chances that it will subside in future also. So there is no question of punishing them. That is not going to solve our problem. We cannot live with Kashmiri Muslims. It's a hard fact, and we have to find out ways. The government of India has to find out ways to give us an honourable settlement in Kashmir, as we have been demanding, and the rest is all futile. They are just wasting the time of this nation, the money, power, the energy by nominating these interlocutors, middlemen, and then we will not be surprised that there will be another group after some time, because once this will go away, this has no substantial effect, and they will create another group. Probably they will go to the Kashmiri Muslims with the offer of a welfare. But I must tell you that will also not work, because the Indian government has done blunder after blunder, and the situation has gone out of their hands. They cannot do anything unless there is some stern action. There is somebody who runs this country. He has that love for this nation. He has that desire to set things right. Otherwise, these people, they cannot deliver. They cannot do any good to this country. And with the result, we being the worst sufferers, will continue to suffer unless we fight it out with a firm.
Kamalji, in Kashmir politics, I would probably say that there are two separate ideologies. One is a separatist ideology which exists, and then there is a nationalist ideology which exists. Everybody knows that Hurriyat is the torchbearer of separatist ideology. At the same time, many believe that Kashmir is the torchbearer of a nationalist ideology. Now, the interlocutors in their report for the dialogue process, the first point they are making is resume the government of India Hurriyat dialogue at the earliest opportunity. Do the nationalist people in Kashmir, vis-a-vis who largely are represented by Kashmir, or people of Jammu, Ladakh and other places, do they have some grievances? And if they have some grievances, why have the interlocutors not recommended that the government of India should hold a meeting with all these forces immediately as well? Why specific on Hurriyat?
I think this is most probably a clear error of judgment on behalf of not only interlocutors but other Kashmir watchers also, who classify the Kashmir polity into two segments, that of pro-separatists and pro-nationalists. I believe there are four streams of politics which are flowing down Kashmir. One is, which is clearly one set, which is clearly for aligning Kashmir with Pakistan. Then there is another set of polity, another stream of politics, which says that Kashmir needs to be independent, what they call as the Azadi. Then we have a mainstream politics running in Kashmir. The mainstream, which would be, which people often confuse with the nationalistic mainstream, which actually is not. This mainstream politics consists of those groups which take opportunities of contesting the polls and what may be most probably going to the people. But these are the people who are represented the thought of greater autonomy, or maybe self-rule, or maybe whatever they feel, which again essentially means supporting the other two streams of politics. And the third stream would be what we rightly call as the nationalistic stream of politics, which is essentially represented by Kashmiri Pandits in Kashmir, Ladakhis in Ladakh, and maybe the Jammu Dogras in Jammu. Now coming to your question, the fact remains that Government of India has allowed a small section of Kashmir separatist polity to keep whole of Jammu and Kashmir under ransom. They have taken the whole of state, whole of country as hostages. The fact remains that Hurriyat or whosoever represents the separatist polity in Kashmir does not represent the thoughts or the aspirations of the people living in Ladakh, nor of the people living in Jammu, nor of the people with 700,000 displaced Kashmiri Pandits who have been displaced out of Kashmir. So, by the recommendation that the government of India should resume the dialogue process with Korea, I think it is preposterous to suggest that ignore the majority of the view, ignore Ladakh, ignore Jammu, ignore Kashmiri Pandits, or ignore other nationalistic forces in Valley and talk only to them. Because I think this is something which is not very intelligent or very innovative. It's a very naive thing to say. Instead of talking to them, they should have suggested or they should have found out the ways of neutralizing the forces which are out to destabilize them. They should have suggested the ways and norms, or they should have suggested some formula with which to isolate the anti-national forces in value, and they should have most probably weighed their minds and tried to find out a formula which would have strengthened the pro-India, the nationalistic forces of Jammu and Kashmir by and large, and the pro-nationalistic forces, the Indian nationalistic forces in Kashmir. They should have found out the ways and means to consolidate those and recommended to the government of India to strengthen them, to talk to them and bring them to the central stage. That's what I think.
Mr. Amata, make the borders irrelevant?
I think it's reminding me of Pakistani experts claiming from every rooftop, any television studio, that General Musharraf and Manmohan Singh were on the verge of signing Kashmir Accord. And what are the four basic points of that? Irrelevance of order, demilitarization, third was self-rule, and then fourth is a joint mechanism to supervise. 4.1. This is supposed to be the out-of-box Kashmir solution for Musharraf. Now tell me, there has been not a single instance that government of India has officially refuted this claim of Pakistan. It's being talked about, it's still being talked about. Unfortunately, General Musharraf is not welcome in Pakistan, but his out-of-box solution is still being talked about, even by the adversary, it's being pursued for. And it has not been refuted by government of India. So that's what I see. I see a design there. Interlocutors, it was their job to talk to the local population before they were supposed to do any talking there. What was their business to involve Pakistan in it? And if you go through, there are a lot many pages, hundreds of words dedicated to Central Asia part of Kashmir. And you know it. The route to Central Asia for Kashmir is by POK Pakistan. So I see that it's happening. But let me tell you, I have a feeling, when I've done blunders after blunder, like my colleague says, you mentioned till now. What India is about to do in Kashmir, I suspect India is surrendering its sovereignty over Kashmir. And to placate those who regard Kashmir as unfinished agenda of partition, I think it's going to be a sure recipe for India's balkanization. That's why it's very important for us, the national voices of Jammu and Kashmir. Number one, mobilize the national voices in Jammu and Kashmir, that is people of Jammu, people of Ladakh, and within Kashmir as well. And also reach out to the rest of India to mobilize opinion against what government of India is about to do. I'm so sorry, it's so unfortunate. This disastrous document has come in, it's more than a week, and what all we have heard about it, what all we have read about it, is only some way or the other, there seems to be some kind of affirmation about all this. And it shows total disregard for national unity and national integration. If you are succumbing now to Kashmiri Islamists, I can assure you, India will have to repeat this mistake time and again till India is diminished. That will be the saddest part. It will be civilizational bloodline. How can you ignore the civilizational links of Kashmir with India?
Dr. Dan, I am again coming back to you with the same question, albeit in a different way. Kashmiri Pandit, there was a Prime Minister Rehabilitation package, few of the Kashmiri Pandits probably who had no other alternative but had to take up the job. The Interlocutors report acknowledges that some people have gone there, even though not everybody has taken up the job. And it's a central government driven policy, which the state is only facilitating, whereas I guess the finances of the states are not involved in all that. and to the best of my understanding, the kind of affidavit each one has to give it is not something which gives as much benefit as a regular employee of a central government or a state government gets, with probably no benefits after retirement and all that. And if I'm not wrong, they also have to give an affidavit that they won't even apply for the transfer part. Having said that, the interlocutors acknowledge that these people are not allowed to bring in their families. Now again, if they are not allowed, what are the conditions? Again I tell you, how does a Kashmiri Pandit go back to Kashmir? Where does he go back? And when does he take back his family? What are the conditions? What do you think is an appropriate condition when a Kashmiri Pandit can go back to the valley along with his family and feel secure? What are the right conditions for that?
Firstly, I would like to tell you that this was an unfortunate act on the part of Kashmiri Pandits. We should blame our own selves, our own leadership for that. We could not give a direction to the community in this regard, because it was not admissible for our community people, especially ladies. Most of them are females. They have gone to Kashmir to join duties. We have not left Kashmir for the sake of jobs. We have not left Kashmir for getting central government jobs or for anything else. We were forced to leave that place. It was a post-exile on us. But having said that, I think the mention of these employees in this report, they simply want to catch this point and prove that things are getting normal in Kashmir, because it is a common discussion these days. Everybody points to that. Kashmiri Pandit people have gone there, they are working there, they are employees of the state government, they are quite safe there, nobody has ever traveled there. But the fact is that when we talk of going back with families and find out what are those conditions, the first thing I would talk about rather is that when we talk of return, at the same time we should talk about the restoration of the situation prior to 1990. Is the government in a position to restore that situation in Kashmir, what it was prevailing before 1990 when the condition was so-called normal? That means our houses which have been burned, which we have sold, will they be restored back to us? If I am living in a particular locality and the government is talking about return, return will be subject to only, my return means return to my own home, return to my own locality, return to my place from where I was forced out. So by offering 2 rooms set there and telling that you will now, from now onward, this is your home and you will have to live in this 2-room set, and now then they claim that things are normal and Kashmiri Pandit should back. I think let the government take this step that they restore that situation that was prevailing in 1990. If they have the guts, if they have the capacity to do it.
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. Going back to your exact home 1990, for all practical reasons, that is practically not possible.
Absolutely.
What solution we can offer to the government for our rehabilitation back in Kashmir? What should we should be demanding to the government, and what should be the preconditions for that?
I have already said that the only solution for Kashmiri Pandit is a separate homeland. This is we should not discuss anything beyond that, because in my opinion, and it is a fact, that Kashmiri Muslims and Kashmiri Pandits cannot live together. So why is the question of return to Kashmir? The thing which I pointed at, return to our original place, then let the government do it first. Then they are talking about offering us 2-room sets. Can they do it? I know, everybody knows they cannot do it. It is not possible. But the question is, we have given a roadmap. We have already, it is with the government. Let us call us, let them discuss with us that how to implement that. By talking about bridging gaps and all that, this is just buying time and just diverting the issues, just diverting it from the mainstream. Our target is fixed. We have to. We are working for that. All of us are working for that. But there are certain people who are trying to create obstacles for their own interest, for their self-interest, and we have to identify them also. Most of us know who they are, what interest they have, and we have to give some sort of advice to them also. We have to tell them that community interests are above personal interest. But if they don't agree, then there are other means also to set things right. But our objective, our demand is already that it needs implementation, and we have to work in that.
Now, I have once, Mr. Mandai, we have spoken to each other a few times earlier. Now, since you don't belong to any organization, you have often told me that the demand of Homeland or a union territory within Kashmir with the full flow of Indian constitution is very beneficial to nation in the first place. So, how do you see that? Probably many people have a myopic view. They think that it is something which relates to a Kashmiri Pandit community. How do you say that this demand is more important to a nation than the Kashmiri Pandit?
See, it's very simple. Last year, only last year, there was an attempt to hoist national flag in Lal Chowk, right? You had to deploy security forces to prevent that. Why? Because the Lal Chowk happens to be the fiefdom of Jammu Kashmir Liberation Front Terror Command, right? He did not like the idea, so you decided to placate him and disallow this innocuous act of hoisting national flag in the heart of Srinagar. Now tell me one thing, why was I thrown out of that place? Because I was seen as symbolizing Indian presence in Kashmir. Faith is secondary. It's also that I also happen to be Hindu. So there were two reasons for my being victimized. Now, all this talk about return, see, my Kashmiri brethren are still going there. They are going there as tourists. They are going to revisit their roots. But tell me, do I cease to be an Indian dog under the present circumstances? You keep referring to separatists wanting us to return back. Have they changed their ideology? They know we're not going to compromise on our Indianness. Any Kashmiri, let me make it stage. Any Kashmiri Pandit purchase his or her sword will never compromise on his or her Indianness. Right? Now, I want to go back. There are no two questions about it. But I will return to Kashmir on my geopolitical terms. What are those geopolitical terms and why? See, what we have been demanding is, I have mentioned it earlier, so I will go back a bit on that. We chose a progressive mode after the accession of Jammu and Kashmir with the rest of India. Right?
We have to be little part.
We chose to be part of Naya Kashmir. Right? We chose to forget the persecution of centuries that diminished our population in Kashmir itself. We reduced from a majority where a aboriginal community was reduced to a minuscule minority in our own homeland. Right? Now, what has happened under the secular India government rule? We faced exodus. We were subjected to ethnic cleansing. Right? Now, how do we restore our roots there? The only way to restore our roots is the government of India is in one way or the other trying to placate the separatists. They are doing it. They will continue to do so. They did it in 47, they did it in 71. How do you compromise, how do you reconcile with national issue on verbal commitment? Like you return 1 lakh euros and assume that Kashmir issue is solved. That is I think that's very sad. Now, geopolitical situation that we are seeking is a piece of land, a territory within Kashmir Valley, where free flow of Indian constitution. Mind it, we do not want any shackles, anything like Article 370, nothing. I want to be living in that part of Kashmir the way I am living today in Delhi. Or for example, any part of India. I don't want even for that, I don't want any special conditions for that. I want simply the simplest possible need and demand, a political demand, which I think no Indian political party, no Indian liberal, right or left or centrist should have any objection to. I am demanding a piece of land in Kashmir where free flow of secular Indian constitution is guaranteed for all those who believe in the idea of India. What is so big we are asking for? If you are ready to negotiate sovereignty of Kashmir with those who regard Kashmir as an unfinished region of Pakistan, why do you think that's preventing interlocutors to even consider our demand, which is seeking restoration of civilizational link of Kashmir with the rest of India?
Good point. Kamalji, I have this concluding question for you, and this is a very interesting observation which I had. Around few weeks back, I covered one of your rally, which was held somewhere near Central Delhi. In that rally, I saw at least a dozen of Kashmiris who were not Kashmiri Pandits. Some of them were Kashmiri Muslims, and few Sikhs as well. This is perhaps in many years of my having visited all these kind of rallies that I have seen this kind of activity having gone on. Do you see this is some kind of messaging which is not mentioned in the Interlocutors report, which is building up, or probably there are many people from across other fields which had traditionally not been supportive of Jammu Kashmir joining in and now wanting that something akin what Jammu Kashmir has been demanding, a union territory, the full flow of Indian constitution in Kashmir? How is it that what made this change?
I think one of the most least reported or unreported facts of Kashmir is that Jammu Kashmir does enjoy a certain level of support, a certain level of, I would say, people's support in Kashmir. There have been a lot of people who have been talking to us privately, a lot of people who have been communicating to us privately from Kashmir, a lot of Kashmiri Muslims who have been talking to us and saying that they don't approve of whatever has been happening in Kashmir. They don't approve of the fundamentalist mindset that is trapped into the general thinking of the Kashmiri people. And they would like to live with the Kashmiri Pandits the way they want in Kashmir. They would like to be part of the Kashmir. But to be very frank enough, though this has been constantly coming to us, this has been constantly being told to us, and people have been making us. But we don't really would like to conclude anything on the basis of that. Given the 700 years of history, the 700 years of persecution, 700 years of genocide, 7 exoduses, it's slightly difficult for us to understand and most probably reconcile to such feelings, even if they are genuine. So it will take time for us to respond to that situation. But the fact remains that yes, there are some elements who have been communicating and who have been trying to tell us that they would also like to be part of the communication. I would like to address and conclude with something what Dr. Dar was suggesting. One needs to understand that Jammu Kashmir is an overwhelming sentiment among the Kashmiri Muslims living worldwide. And unfortunately, the government, which is really no stone unturned in palliating the separatist elements in the Cape Valley, who have made this problem simply valley-centric, sees that the demand of Jammu Kashmir, which privately many sources of the government do admit is a very legitimate demand, but when it comes to the governance, they feel that it at any time goes against what the separatists are waging in the valley. So there have been certain attempts to maybe infiltrate the ranks or create regions in certain sections, or create certain agencies or certain groups which would most probably argue contrary to the Homeland. But I would like to conclude, and I would like to reaffirm and reiterate very forcefully that one needs to understand how the concept of Jammu Kashmir came into the game. 1992 saw the congregation of the largest number of Kashmiri Pandit intellects drawn from virtually all the organizations in the Kashmiri Pandit organizations world over, not only among the people who had freshly come out of the valley, but also from the people who had already out of valley, who had formed their local associations, maybe in Delhi, maybe in Bombay, wherever. And they had then also the people who would come from abroad, and they congregated in Jammu and deliberated on the subject for a number of days. An expert committee drawn from very eminent people was formed, who said that how do we respond to the situation of displacement. And then after long deliberations and after long thought process and after long discussions, the concept came that Kashmiri Pandits would go back to the valley only when a separate homeland is created, a separate union territory where there is a free flow of constitution, Indian constitution, and which has the guarantees of government of India is created. Then only Kashmiri Pandits will go back. And that time, I would like to remind all of us and all of our viewers that the signatories to that resolution happen to be perhaps virtually who is who of the Kashmiri Pandit organization. So I think this debate needs to be.
Thanks for updating us. Though I have a little disagreement in that. One should go on a historic record. The first time the demand for the homeland, which was actually raised, was in 1931 when Yuva Sabha raised the demand. And it is not something which happened past 1989. It happened first time in 1930. Now, having concluded that, some very brief message, I will go one by one. Mr. Ambadai, you have maybe a 15-second message. We are very short of time. For the viewers about Kashmir or the return or the interlocutors.
I would like to conclude. We reject interlocutor, so it's not even about discussing. We've gone through it. It's all that doesn't concern us. I think it's been written for a different tribe altogether. Now, the message should be simple. Kashmiri Pandits will go back to Kashmir. That is our aim. That is what we live for. But only on our geopolitical terms. Return we will to our own homeland, that's a union territory, centrally in its union territory in Kashmir, which has free flow of secular Indian constitution. That's it. And for all those Kashmiris, for all those who believe in the idea of India. That's it.
Dr. Dan,
there is no second thought about our goal, that is on Kashmir. We will go back to Kashmir in a separate homeland. There is no discussion on that. That's final. And my point is that at the present time, the concept of one Kashmir is much more important and much more required than what it was the time when it was first introduced way back in 1991. It was started in 1911. I don't know about that, but in 1991 when this resolution was passed, Kashmir Samiti, I was part of the management of Kashmir Samiti, and Kashmir Samiti was first to adopt that resolution, and from that day till today Kashmir Samiti is fighting and giving all possible support to this homeland for Kashmiri Pandits. And for those who created some sort of problems, some obstacles in this process, and who are also doing the same creating same problems now, I must convey to them that one Kashmir is the only option available with Kashmiri Pandits. There is no other way out if we want to live in an honorable way as the citizens of India in a free country, which is to be named as one.
So, viewers, it's time to wind up for today's episode of Discourse, what I am holding it. So I should thank Mr. Kamal for his presence. Thanks to respected Dr. Ananda Saab, and as usual, Mr. Ambadai, you have been delightful. See you once again next week. Thanks.
ये सब मंथन इसके प्रोग्राम तो मंथन पद करो धरोहर ची कड़ी मंस 1 minute पर के विचार विमर्श 1 minute इधर में वजो पन्निस वर्णिकिस एपिसोडस में कि वनून छु वत्सल बासरावन खुशी फहलावन सपय आनंद फहलावन दिवाई बासरावन ये वनून ये वनान इतिहास के तिमन पृष्ठन मज तिमन इतिहास के सास बजन वरी के तिमन स्वप्न गोतन मज फेरनावान आश्चर्य करान क्या वनमून गाँव क्या गो ये वनमून क्या वनमून कह वनो वनमून कुछ कहना यानी हम तो कहते रहते हैं कुछ भी बात होती है तो कोई बात कहना क्या वर्णन होता है? हाँ, बात कहना तो वर्णन होता है, मगर हमारा जो वर्णन है कश्मीरी में वर्णन है वह कुछ और हमें एक वेद गाथा के बारे में बताता है। कहते हैं वर्णन वेदों की परंपरा में एक लुप्त प्राय लोक संगीत का एक बचा हुआ एक स्वरूप है जो कश्मीरी पंडितों में आज भी विद्यमान है, गोया लुप्त प्राय हो रहा है। कोशिशें हो रही हैं इसको दोबारा से जीवित करने की। महिलाओं में बहुत प्रचलित है ये, और वही अपने काव्य कौशल से इसे हर क्षण सींचती रहती थी। ये वालून युष्य आठवट वालून जिक्र काफी इंसान बड़ जरूरी याद कि वंश बाटने हना मंचान वालून करनस मस जिस ये न सपन गज अगर मंचन तेल गए खत्म क्या इसके यह वनवन इस रामायण कालस मज क्या वनवान जनान वनवान जनक राजन यानी राजा जनक गो रामायण कालस जोड़ान पतमिस एपिसोडस मज आये तुलमुल फील तुलमुल डिवाइड वो तो तुलमुल रामायण कालस जोड़ान दपान 1000 वरी गो वक्त 1000 वरी पुरान कथ दपान कित पे रामायण कालस जुड़ित दपान ये श्रीलंका पे भगवती आये तो तुलमुल कोर उपवास यह जुड़ो रामायण कालस सती प्रसंग तो दीवी हूं अत रोजन शुरू कर पे 360 नागन सम नागन मज अनंत नाग प्रमुख तम नाग यमस सत रोजान तुलमुल बड़ नरम नरम भूमि पे तो दपान ये रामायण काल भगवान श्री राम युद्ध जीनित श्रीलंका पे वापस आये अयोध्या मन सपद भव्य स्वागत मगर भगवान रामन मुशरो ने कि कस दीवी ये विजय प्राप्त कर आशीर्वाद दुत तय थो यह याद दपान अम पे जेठ 8 आये नव वरी भगवान राम तो सीता यिस कालस तम विज धरती पे प्रत वरी दीवी निश गसान पूजा अर्चना करान तो यह रूदमुत अयोध्या की तम विजुक रिश्त यह माँ आहे तम विज अयोध्या पे तो सैनिस वनवनस मज जनक राज रामचंद्र सीता यम वर्णन क्या वनुन क्या वनुन गई हेंजे करान हेंजे शुक्ला सोन मातृशक्ति वनविनस मज गडनत हिंजे कर दपान डॉक्टर PN पुष्प सर री हंसिनी जनानन एड्रेस है तल यवर वुच या अख श्रृंगारिक मतलब एड्रेस अख अभिव्यक्ति कस जान बासान खतर आलो कर तो यह वनविनस मज गड़े नाव या पवित्र नाव या कह अम पे शुक्लाम करान गौ सन वत्सव यम प्रकाश सतन शुरू कर शुक्लाम गो जून पक्ष सफेद श्वेत लाइट जन जान रुत यन कांचुन तो यह वनवन हमेशा वत्सवन खतर करने तो अत मज कवितायन मज प्रतीक बनाने तो कम कम तम दह इन पे जन वनवान मातृशक्ति ये खानदर आए मेखल आए मंजरात आए इन मज क्रम लिवनस पे गडनथ वन लिवन यानी साफ सफाई यानी क्लीनजिंग प्रोसेस ड्यूरिंग मैरिजेस या शादी विवाह उत्सव पर जो साफ सफाई का कार्यक्रम होता था, तो वन उस पे किया जाता था दफन, इन्विटेशन। ये सही खान बापत गसान इन्विटेशन दिने, न्योता दिने, निमंत्रण दिने, अत पे वन क्रूल खानस पे डेकोरेशन करान, दवार बनावान, अत पे वनवान मजरात, मजरात खानच मजरात, मेखलियन मजरात, अत पे वन कन्याश्राम, ये जन कन्या यमिस नेचर है तमिस तथ पे वन दिवगोन, कन्या ये दिवगोन अत पे वन कोर दिवगोनिस तो नेटिव दिवगोनिस अलग अलग वन पारनस यानी श्रृंगार करनस वन आज इन सारे चीजन पे वन आज मगर यह वन आज ज्यादा टेप रिकॉर्डन मज ब्रोह ड्रीम ताकार सारे माज बेन ज्यादा जिछे पामत तम वनवान, बाकी जन मध्य वर्ग जनान तम कान कालत मज आवर अम पे तंग गणस खास वन लग्नस महाराज आयो महाराज द्रायो कह खास वन इन पे जन अभिव्यक्ति दिन वन कि माध्यम सत बत आव मारे महाराज तमिस यूग यमिस त्रावान यूगिस पे मारे महाराज अमिस वन दाग पूजाय वन पोश पूजाय वन मस कासनस यमिस मेखली महाराजस मस कासन या जर कासे अमिस वन यह वन श्रृंखला कफी सीट वन मे बासान प्राचीनतम लोक संगीत वनतोस या वेदन हूँ दपान वेदन प्रसास तरीक गेवनस या रचनस तिमन मन लुप्त प्राय स्कूल लुप्त प्राय तरीक अभिव्यक्ति कर सैनिस लुक वर्तस वन बन यह दुनिया सारे प्रोन स्टाइल ऑफ सिंगिंग वन ताम रसरोमुत तो गुट्टी रसरावन तो इन प्रोग्राम के माध्यमों से ज्यादा अमुक प्रचार कर तो लुक हावन पन इंटरेस्ट पन शौक पन रुचि तो अत मतलब सोचन विचार कर कित पे करो पकनो ब्रो वन पे वुचि कह वनो अत पे वनो बेहतर कह वन करो यजन समापन तो अत पे राय प्राय दिन जरूर। नमस्कार। आखिरी कड़ी बे गीत सत गीत सोपुन इस सोपुन सारे तिमन लुकन बेघर गई प्रताड़ित आय कर निष्कासित आय कर सु गीत जन सो भावना छटान सोन सोपुन क्या स्वप्न वक्त पन कश्मीर।
वक्त सी स्वप्न वचुं पनु कश्मीर महाकाली उचुं गई नता नरमुंड मानाएसना उचुं गृहिं सरप मरा जगत करां सोप तक्सी प्रावुंचुं पनु कश्मीर हत गजंबरियन हुज छत उचुं सपदान महाकिलदान विद्याय हुं आगुर उचुं बना तन ब्रोह लिवन फशीज तपसी प्रावुंचुं पनु कश्मीर अंत अनवर सुई सोन मोर पूजं पान पान जोड़ा मज वुचुं दोच्छकान सपर चुर्यनम गर वन कश्मीर स्वप्न वचुं पनु कश्मीर स्वप्नस्मन्ना उचुं अत्यहुंगा मंदिरन उचुं गंताय वजा बाल को उचुं प्रारान सुलिची स्वप्न वचुं पनु कश्मीर सुहन बरियन हुई गौनो ओस दूट मुत कर्म दोष दुख समय ओस जपुक तपुक बो होहरावान जंड वचुं धीर स्वप्न वचुं पनु कश्मीर नगर उचुं बसां स्वप्ना दस उचुं दीवी तुलानकी सतरिश्त दिवई तपन शिवनाथन दिस डमरी स्वप्न वचुं पनु कश्मीर शारिकां ओही करा रगिल्यां जोन करा प्रसन्न रप भवानी ललेश्वरी सरी सन आहीवान वनवान सपाय गंजवान ऋतिवेन चित्यं सत्वचुं पनु कश्मीर हकीकत चुं पनु तकदीर चुं पनु कश्मीर कुनी वते चुं पनु तकदीर चुं पनु कश्मीर स्वप्न मंदिर में नगर पनुन कश्मीर पनुन कश्मीर पनुन कश्मीर पनुन
Död बड़ सुंदर तो तुहंद विचार तुहंद कह मनस मज भाव तम गसन अम वातन सन प्रोग्राम तुम पसंद न पसंद शेष सोजन शेष अमे किन तेली बासे तुम भावान तो तुम भावान वारिया वारिया कहनी